So I wondered something about the tear gas bill that was ultimately passed. The definition of a riot, as I understand it, is not a very high bar. And as I've been on the streets of Portland, it's pretty easy for me to think that the police could announce a riot very quickly based on the circumstances on night to night and opt to use tear gas. I mean, did you get the sense that that turned out to be a meaningful reform as things on the ground have worked the way you've seen it?
That's a good question. Well, I think with all the bills, I think they should definitely be taken as a group as an important first step. And as you heard from the testimony on all those bills, there's more work to do. And I think it would include the one related to protecting people from excessive force when they are assembling lawfully. The bill does require, and I think this, from my understanding, is new and will help. The police have to, when there is a riot, and I would agree, the unlawful assembly versus riot distinction is maybe too easy and not very clear. However, they have to make an announcement that they're going to use it to give people time to flee. Look, I had staff at one of the rallies early on, one of the protest marches very early on in this downtown Portland, and was very frustrated that what was a nonviolent, large, peaceful protest, tear gas came out of nowhere. This bill will say if you're law enforcement and you believe that there's a reason to use that, you need to give advance warning again so people can get out of the way. It is a health hazard. And also have to report why you used it. I think those are new and important directions for law enforcement. And I think we have to go further. The committee will take up use of force. And I think all issues in the 6 bills are going to get wrapped into that committee. So I think you'll see more progress in that area. So the bill outright prohibits the use of tear gas for dispersing unlawful assemblies. A riot is a Class C felony. So a riot involves criminal activity. So I think what you've been seeing in Portland is, honestly, I read the reports every night, and from folks who share them with me, and people standing around, throwing a water bottle is not a riot. That's not criminal activity, right? So a riot is a step above, unlawful assembly is not where you can use tear gas. You have to have a riot under this bill, and that is a higher bar. And in addition to the notification provisions that I talked about. But as you heard from some of my colleagues, I think there's going to be an increased emphasis on best practices and what those discipline guides should look like. I think we all want to make sure that guidelines are clear for officers, so the good ones can follow the rules, and with the duty to report, the duty to intervene bill, which of all of them I think is probably the most immediately responsive to what we saw in the murder of George Floyd, that officers are required with the passage of this bill to report and intervene when something is going wrong with one of their colleagues in terms of what they're doing to another person, and that they are protected with whistleblower protections to actually report that. That I think is a very significant piece of legislation.